Will the Sony A7CR cost as much as the Sony A7R5 with a single card slot and no support for CF Express Type A? Well, stick around after this short break for all the details. But first, please do me a favor. Follow me on X, formerly known as Twitter, but most importantly, please subscribe to this channel. It doesn't cost you anything, really helps get this channel noticed, and keeps you up to date on the latest camera gear, news, and rumors. Sony Alpha Rumors has leaked pricing on the Sony A7C II and the A7CR. Let's start off with the A7C II, and this is going to be a little bit surprising. Now in euros, it's supposed to be 2,700 euros. So 2,700, that works out to about $2,400. $2,400. Does that seem a little bit similar to another camera? The Sony A7 IV, a camera that's been selling like hotcakes since, well, it was announced or released for shipping back in December of 2021. In North America, in Europe, Asia, everywhere, this camera has been selling very, very well, been the top of the charts. And so we get a price hike from the A7C, which currently sells for $1,598, regular price $1,798, a huge jump up to about $2,400, right in the same price point as the A7 IV. It seems a little odd to me. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Not only are you competing with your A7 IV, but you're also saying that, yeah, anybody interested in the A7C, that price point doesn't matter anymore. We're completely vacating that $1,500 to $1,700 price point for the A7C. This is the new price point, and Sony did do that with the A7 IV. The A7 III was some $500 to $600 less, but it gets even stranger. The A7CR, the price of this one here, are you ready for this? The A7CR is supposed to cost 3,600 euros. Now, to put that into perspective, in Europe, the A7R5 sells for 4,200 euros, which is around $3,899 or $3,900 US. And if my calculations are correct, that would price the A7CR at around $3,399, $3,400, just some $400 less than the currently priced Sony A7R5. Does this make sense? Does this make any sense at all? To me, there's so many issues with it. As I mentioned with the A7C II, right up around the same price as the A7 IV, vacating that price point set right now today at $1,598 by the Sony A7C doesn't make an awful lot of sense to me. I know the 6600 is being pulled out of the market, and that does make some room, but you're vacating a very important price point. And for the A7CR to have a single card slot, SD card slot, no CF Express Type A, no 8K, for around $400 less than the Sony A7R5, I'm having trouble understanding how this makes any sense at all. And you might be wondering, and I know what you're thinking right now, you know what, this is just one of those wild rumors put out by Sony Alpha Rumors, right? It's not from a valid, trusted source. Well, about that, Sony Alpha Rumors says that a trusted source here, folks, got the information from a European store owner that those would be the prices. Just let that sink in for a bit. Let that sink in. The A7CR, if true, will cost some $400 or $500 less than the Sony A7R5. I don't get that. I would, if I was in the market for the Sony A7R5 and I heard about the A7CR and I heard it was around $3,400, I'd give it a complete miss. So compared to the Sony A7R5, it doesn't do 8K at 24 or 25 frames per second. It has a much lower resolution EVF, the LCD as well. It doesn't have that, well, actually in the latest rumor, it does have that 4-axis articulating LCD screen, so it probably does have the same resolution. They've probably taken the exact same component, but a single card slot and it's SD, it's not CF Express Type A. It doesn't make any sense. I would look at both cameras and say, okay, you know what, for the price difference, and even if the price difference was $600, I'd say, you know what, if I don't have the money right now, I'm gonna save, I'm gonna hold off, and I'm gonna buy the A7R5. The A7CR at $3,400 just doesn't make any sense to me. It's just baffling. And even the price of the A7C II at $2,400 also seems a little bit baffling and confusing. And I'm not the only one. You're confused. Sony Alpha Rumors is confused. I'm almost willing to chalk this up to, sure, maybe it's coming from a trusted source, but maybe they're being punked. Maybe they're being tested, because this actually does happen. Sony, Canon, and other camera manufacturers, what they do every now and then is they put out certain information, and they'll give this ambassador or this retailer this information. Then they'll tweak the information and give it to this person. And then this person will get slightly different information. So when it hits the fan, they know exactly who leaked the information. And for me right now, that seems to be the most plausible scenario here, because the A7C II at $2,400, the same price point essentially as the A7 IV, doesn't make any sense to me. And we've got a new camera, and it might have some more AI capabilities. It might have that new AI chip versus the A7 IV, but the A7 IV has been on the market for almost 2 years now and has a proven track record. It's one of the most popular mirrorless cameras on the market today. I would take my chance with the A7 IV. And the A7R5 at $38.99, offering 60 megapixels, 8K at 2425 frames per second, dual card slot supporting CF Express Type A, a much higher resolution EVF, and that 4-axis articulating LCD. And yes, I know the A7CR is supposed to get that, but if it's going to cost anywhere from $600 to $400 less, you know what? I wouldn't buy it for $1,000 less, because having a single card slot, when you're pricing it above $3,000, it doesn't have dual card slots. It doesn't have dual CF Express card slots. It has a much lower resolution EVF, and it's missing some major capabilities. It just doesn't make any sense to me, and I'm really puzzled by it. And you know, it's supposed to, both cameras, along with the 16 to 35 millimeter, are supposed to be announced on August the 29th, but we don't have confirmation of the time. I don't know if it's August the 29th Japanese local time or August the 29th Eastern Standard Time here in New York or Toronto, or maybe even Central European Time. And we are expecting more information. I expect validation on this pricing information, because I think this is a little bit nuts. I'm not willing to trust it. Everything else we've heard about these two cameras seems realistic, seems plausible, but the pricing just doesn't, well, it doesn't pass the smell test. And you'll notice that I've also had the smart pre-order links down below for the better part of the last few minutes. And the reason for that is because we have so many different options here. We're going to have a lens, we're going to have multiple SKUs for the camera, for both cameras, and of course Adorama and B&H, if you're buying from them, will also put together their own packages with camera bags and other kit to try and get you to buy from their platforms. So if you take these links from Adorama and B&H, bookmark them, put them in your browser, what it's going to do is save you time on the day of announcement. So once the embargo is lifted, you're going to see every single kit package available for either camera from Adorama and from B&H. So that way you can save a little bit of time, get in the queue a little bit quicker, so you can get your camera a whole lot sooner. That is, of course, assuming that the pricing is where it is right now is going to be changed. And honestly, I would not buy either of these two cameras at those price points. The A7C II maybe, if it's got some other capabilities we're not aware of that makes it better than the A7 IV. But yeah, and even heat dissipation, right? So if you want to stay up to date on all the latest camera gear news and rumors, specifically pricing and validation points for the A7C II, the A7CR, go ahead and subscribe, but make sure you also choose all notifications. And for all those minor news and rumors, for all those stories that aren't quite big enough to have their own separate update or separate video, or even pricing information, such as Nikon just released pre-orders for the 180 to 600 millimeter, and it looks like it's going to start shipping at the end of this month. Previous information said September the 30th, but we're now hearing August the 31st. So I tweet that stuff out all the day on, I keep saying Twitter, and tweet makes sense, but X. So are we going to X it out on X? Maybe that's the new term. I'm going to X this out on X. Yeah, it doesn't really roll off the tongue, does it? Anyhow, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate you sticking around, watching to this far in the video as I start to ramble on incoherently. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned. A lot more is supposed to happen. This is going to be a very, very busy time for cameras. We're starting to ramp up here in August, but September and October, we're going to see a lot of impressive announcements and some teases for what's coming in 2024. But that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you again soon.